Ever stop to think if the color of what you're wearing sends, a silent message about how attractive you appear to others?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? How much these subtle cues matter.
Totally. Today, we're diving deep into this really interesting study that looked at exactly that, specifically how women judge other women based on, well, the color of their
Ah,
dress.
yes, the one from Actus Psychologica, Sidhu and colleagues, 2021. It's quite a piece of research.
You shared it, and it's really eye-opening. We're going to unpack what it really tells us about perception
Yeah.
and maybe, just maybe, how you pick your next outfit.
What's great is how systematic they were. They used eye tracking, which is always revealing, with 31 young Caucasian women.
Right.
And they were rating these computer-generated figures, avatars, both Caucasian and African skin tones,
Hmm.
all wearing dresses in 6 different colors: black, gray, white, red, green, and blue.
Yeah.
It gets beyond just gut feeling.
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, second thought here. Have you ever felt that uncertainty about an outfit? Like something's just not clicking.
Oh, definitely. Everyone has, I think.
Well, this research suggests some colors might actually, maybe unintentionally, lead to lower attractiveness ratings.
And potentially make the same body seem larger, which is kind of wild.
Exactly. So we're going to pinpoint which colors might be doing that. And here's where the methodology gets, well, really solid.
Yeah, they didn't just show one image, did they?
No, they used avatars across 6 different UK dress sizes, from a size 6 right up to a 16,
Right.
wearing all those 6 colors. And the participants rated attractiveness, 1 to 9 scale, and estimated the dress size.
Plus the eye tracking, so you see where the focus is.
Precisely. That level of detail gives us some pretty firm ground for understanding these perceptions, don't you think?
I do. The rigor is key. Using avatars lets them control for so much pose, expression,
Hmm.
really isolating color and skin tone.
Good point.
And we always hear that fashion advice: black is slimming, red is powerful, all that.
Yeah, the usual stuff.
But this study from the University of Lincoln researchers gives us actual data. It moves beyond anecdotes, especially for how women see other women.
Okay, so let's get into it. Prepare for some aha moments,
Uh-huh.
because we're going to reveal which colors boosted attractiveness and perceived slimness, which ones didn't, and this really surprising role of the avatar's race.
Let's start with attractiveness. The study was pretty clear, wasn't it? Color mattered a lot.
It really did. Black came out on top, average rating of 6.79,
Mm-hmm.
and red was right behind it, 6.67. Very close.
But then you look at the other end.
Yeah, gray was down at 6.20, and green scored the lowest, just 6.00 on average.
Wow, quite a spread.
White and blue were sort of in the middle, around 6.35, 6.39, but still a noticeable gap between the top and bottom.
It really lends some weight to that idea about black being, sophisticated or attractive, doesn't it?
It seems so. But then, factoring in the avatar's race adds another layer.
Yes, this was interesting. Overall, the African avatars actually got higher attractiveness ratings, 6.49 versus 6.31 for Caucasian avatars.
So a baseline difference even before specific colors.
Seems like it. Suggests maybe some inherent visual preferences or perhaps how the avatars were rendered, but it's there in the data.
And the interaction between color and race was significant too. White, blue, and green dresses. They were rated as more attractive on the African avatars.
Right, like take the white dress example.
Yeah, on the African avatar, it scored 6.55.
Uh-huh.
But on the Caucasian avatar, only 6.15.
That's a big jump.
It is. But interestingly, black, gray, and red had similar ratings regardless of the avatar's race.
Which suggests maybe it's about contrast. Brighter colors like white, blue, green might pop more against darker skin tones.
That makes intuitive sense. A stronger visual harmony, maybe?
Could be. Whereas black, gray, red might have a more universal impact, perhaps due to their own visual weight or even cultural links.
Okay, and what about dress size? Did that change which colors were seen as most attractive?
It did, yeah. There was a nuance there. For the smaller sizes, say UK 6 to 10, black and red were consistently rated high.
Okay, so that holds.
But for the largest size, UK 16, black actually pulled ahead of all other colors. It was the clear winner for attractiveness at that size.
Interesting. And on the flip side,
Green tended to get lower ratings on the smaller sizes, but for the larger sizes like 12 through 16, both green and gray were rated less attractive.
so the best and worst colors for attractiveness aren't totally fixed. They depend a bit on the size being viewed.
Exactly. It highlights the complexity, doesn't it? How different visual cues interact. It's not a simple formula.
Right. Okay, let's switch gears to perceived body size. This is where the slimming black idea really gets tested.
And the results are pretty striking here, too.
Definitely. Black led to the biggest underestimation of size. On average, people judged the avatar as half a UK dress size smaller in black.
Minus 0.50, yeah. Blue also had a slimming effect, minus 0.39.
And red, too, though a bit less, minus 0.26.
But then the others, they went the opposite way.
Totally. Green, gray, and white actually led to overestimation of size.
White was the most, wasn't it?
Yeah, by 0.37 of a size, so making the avatar seem over a third of a size larger. Gray was plus 0.15, green plus 0.14.
So it really does seem like darker colors slim and lighter colors don't, at least in this context.
It provides some actual numbers for that common fashion advice, yeah.
But again, the interaction with race and size complicated things a bit.
Right. For the smaller sizes, UK 6 and 8 specifically, something unexpected happened with black, gray, and blue.
What was that?
They caused more overestimation on the African models compared to the Caucasian ones.
Wait, overestimation, even with black and blue?
Yes, almost the opposite of the overall slimming effect. But for those specific small sizes and darker skin tone avatars.
Huh. That's really counterintuitive.
It is. And white in those smaller sizes caused more overestimation on the Caucasian models. It's like the visual dynamics shift.
That really shows it's not a simple rule. The interplay between the garment color and skin tone seems crucial, especially at smaller sizes.
And for the larger sizes, 12 to 16, it settled down a bit.
Sort of. Black and blue had a similar underestimation, that slimming effect, on both races. More like the overall trend.
Okay.
But white and gray still caused more overestimation on Caucasian models, specifically in sizes 12 and 14.
So the perception rules still seem slightly different depending on the specific combination of size, color, and skin tone.
Precisely. It emphasizes looking at these factors together, not just isolating one. Our visual perception is pretty nuanced.
So what about where people were actually looking? The eye tracking data must shed some light.
It does give us a map of attention. Unsurprisingly, the upper body got the most focus, almost half the viewing time, around 49%.
Makes sense. Followed by
The waist tip region, about 22-23%. Then the head, around 12%. Legs and arms got much less attention.
So the torso is really the key zone when women are assessing other women in these images.
Seems that way? It aligns with research showing the upper body and waist tip ratio are important cues for shape, size, and attractiveness.
Did the color or race change where people looked overall?
Not dramatically in the big picture, the general pattern held, but there were subtle shifts.
Like what?
Well, with white dresses, participants spent a bit more time looking at the waist hip area. And with black dresses, they focused more on the upper body and actually less on the legs.
Why might that be? Any theories?
It's plausible, it's the visual properties.
Yep.
White might create less definition up top, drawing the eye to the waist contours. Black defines shape well, maybe emphasizing the upper body lines more.
Interesting. But here's the real twist for me.
Go on.
Even though they tracked exactly where people looked, that gaze duration didn't strongly predict their final attractiveness or size ratings.
Right. That was a key finding. Just because someone looked longer at the waist in a white dress didn't automatically mean that's why they rated it higher or lower overall.
So looking time doesn't equal deciding factor.
Exactly. It suggests the brain is doing something more complex, more holistic, integrating that visual info rather than just reacting to where the eyes linger longest.
One last piece. Did the participants' own favorite colors influence their ratings?
Ah, good question. They did ask about personal preference. Red, pink, purple were most popular. 42% chose those. Black was next at 16%.
And did liking red make you rate the red dress higher?
Nope. They found no significant link. Your personal taste didn't seem to bias how you judged the avatars.
That suggests a degree of objectivity, doesn't it? At least in this setup.
It does. It implies these perceptions might be more about shared visual processing than just individual likes or dislikes.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What's the big takeaway for our listeners from this deep dive?
Well, it really shows that clothing color isn't just fluff. It can subtly but measurably shift how other women perceive your body, both attractiveness and size.
Yeah, it seems black and red might be your allies if you're aiming for those higher attractiveness ratings or a slimmer look in others' eyes.
Well, maybe green and gray.
Yeah.
Perhaps be a bit more mindful of those, if those are the goals.
And that interplay between color and skin tone is fascinating, too. The idea that white, blue, green popped more on African avatars really highlights contrast and harmony.
It does. It suggests thinking about color not just in isolation, but how it works with your own complexion.
And the eye tracking confirming focus on the torso, but with those subtle shifts based on color. It gives a peek into the visual assessment process.
Right. So the final provocative thought might be this. Knowing all this, how might it subtly change how you choose outfits?
Hmm.
Not just for yourself, but thinking about perception in different contexts, social or professional.
Yeah, maybe digging into color theory a bit more, how it interacts with your specific skin tone. That could offer some really personalized insights, couldn't it?
Exactly. This study kind of opens the door for more thinking, maybe even some fun experimentation in your own wardrobe.
Definitely food for thought. A great deep dive into how much color can communicate.